Greetings, humans of the internet, and welcome once again to Bowtie Talks. I, of course, am your excellent host, Luke Johnson, coming to you, as usual, from my undisclosed location in Midwest USA with some more historical insights. And with Father's Day being this week, I figured it might be a good time to discuss the origins of this holiday. Because I, for one, have a great father, and if you're listening to this, hi Dad, love you. Every third Sunday of every June, I try to do my best to honor him in some way. And so this is my way of honoring him and all fathers everywhere, really. So please join me as I discuss the origins of Father's Day. Now, days honoring fathers have been a long-standing tradition in both Catholic and Orthodox countries. It is said to date back to the early 1500s when the Catholic Church supported the celebration on St. Joseph's Day, otherwise called the Feast of St. Joseph, the day that reveres the nourisher of our Lord, as St. Joseph is called in the Catholic Church. And during the centuries that followed, there was a long debate about whether or not a day honoring fathers should be celebrated worldwide. Believe it or not, Mother's Day actually came first, and men during the early 1900s associated such a tribute with women and found the idea of a day honoring fathers to be too effeminate for their liking. And in 1914, President Woodrow Wilson called Mother's Day a way to recognize, and I quote, that tender, gentle army, the mothers of America. And so many men viewed the idea of Father's Day as similar to Mother's Day, which was popular with florists. For fathers, it definitely did not have the same sentimental appeal. However, the woman responsible for Father's Day, in my opinion at least, had every reason to be sentimental. Father's Day, believe it or not, began as a way to honor those who died in a great tragedy. The earliest Father's Day celebrations in the United States took place in churches during the early 20th century. The first known Father's Day celebration happened after what has been called the worst mining disaster in American history. It happened on the morning of December the 6th, 1907, when an explosion ripped through two coal mines under the town of Monaga, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, or maybe it's Minoga, West Virginia. The explosion collapsed passageways and destroyed the ventilation system, and at least 362 miners were killed. However, the death toll might have been even higher because of poor record-keeping practices and the presence of extra workers who regularly assisted their relatives and neighbors. And one woman was saddened by the great loss. Her name was Grace Golden Clayton, and she asked the church to commemorate the fathers, including her own, who died in the disaster, and suggested a date close to her father's birthday. And the resulting service was held on July 5th, 1908 at the Williams Memorial Methodist Episcopal Church, which is now called the Central United Methodist Church in Fairmont, West Virginia. However, it happened with not much fanfare because of the recent Independence Day celebrations. 1 year later, halfway across the country in the city of Spokane, Washington, a woman named Sonora Smart Dowd had a similar idea. She was attending a Mother's Day church service, and she found herself wondering why fathers were not honored in the same way. Dodd had a very good relationship with her father because he capably handled the difficult task of raising her and her 5 younger siblings when her mother died in 1898. And she presented a formal petition for Father's Day observance to the Spokane Ministerial Alliance, which agreed to designate June 19, 1910 as the day of observance. And on that day, church services throughout Spokane, Washington honored fathers, and community members wore roses, red flowers, for those with a living father, and white ones for those whose fathers had passed away. And unlike the service in West Virginia, the larger scale celebrations in Spokane drew much attention from the press, and William Jennings Bryan was among the people who sent Dodd a congratulatory note. However, it should be noted that Dodd and Clayton were not the only people pushing for a day to honor fathers. In 1911, a woman named Jane Addams, who was a famous social worker and later founded the Whole House Museum, said that Chicago should have a Father's Day as early as 1911. And in 1913, J. Hampton Moore, the House representative from Pennsylvania, introduced a bill to make Father's Day a national holiday, but it ultimately failed. And as we this to Father's Day was not at all uncommon. Some men questioned the manliness of an event connected to Mother's Day, and others saw it purely as a commercial gimmick. Interestingly, however, one early supporter of Father's Day was none other than President Woodrow Wilson, who in 1916 honored Father's Day by using telegraph signals to unfurl a flag in Spokane, Washington, when he pressed a button in Washington, D.C. President Calvin Coolidge also passed on taking executive action to make Father's Day a national holiday, despite urging states to mark the occasion in 1924. Which seems a bit hypocritical to me, but it is what it is. And pressure to create a national holiday honoring fathers was growing by the early 1960s when Representative Walt Hurray of Washington emphasized his state's role in launching Father's Day, celebrated largely, if not officially, on the third Sunday of June. This led to President Lyndon Johnson issuing the first presidential proclamation to recognize Father's Day in 1966. That proclamation reads as follows. The third Sunday in June has for many years been observed as Father's Day. It is most appropriate that the Congress, by enactment of Senate Resolution 161, has now given official recognition to this well-established tradition. In the homes of our nation, we look to the fathers to provide the strength and stability which characterize the successful family. If the father's responsibilities are many, his rewards are also great. The love, appreciation, and respect of children and spouse. It is the desire to acknowledge publicly these feelings we have for the fathers of our nation that has inspired the Congress to call for the formal observance of Father's Day. Now, therefore, I, Lyndon B. Johnson, President of the United States of America, in consonance with Senate Joint Resolution 161 of the 89th Congress, request the appropriate government officials to arrange for the display of the flag on old government buildings on Father's Day, Sunday, June 19th, 1966. I invite state and local governments to cooperate in the observance of that day, and I urge all our people to give public and private expression to the love and gratitude which they bear for their fathers. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the United States of America to be affixed. And just 6 years later, after Congress passed a joint resolution, President Richard Nixon signed a proclamation which formally designated one special Sunday in honor of America's fathers from this year forward as Father's Day. And yes, I will read the proclamation. To have a father or to be a father is to come very near the heart of life itself. In fatherhood we know the elemental magic and joy of humanity. In fatherhood we even sense the divine, as the scriptural writers did who told of all good things coming down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Symbolism so challenging to each man who would give his own son or daughter a life of light without shadow. Our identity in name and nature, our roots in home and family, our very standard of manhood, all this and more is the heritage of our fathers share with us. It is a rich patrimony, one for which adequate thanks can hardly be offered in a lifetime, let alone a single day. Still, it has long been our national custom to observe each year one special Sunday in honor of America's fathers, and from this year forward, by a joint resolution of Congress, approved April 24th, 1972, that custom carries the weight of law. This is fitting and good. Let each American make this Father's Day an occasion for renewal of the love and gratitude we bear to our fathers, increasing and enduring all through the years. Now, therefore, I, Richard Nixon, President of the United States of America, do hereby request that June 18th, 1972 be observed as Father's Day. I direct government officials to display the flag of the United States on all government buildings, and I urge citizens to display the flag at their homes and other suitable places at that day. And so Father's Day became a national holiday, more than 50 years after those first two celebrations. And Sonora Dodd was 90 years old when Father's Day finally became a national holiday, but at least she got to see her work pay off. And it should also be noted that Father's Day is not strictly an American holiday. However, not all countries celebrate it on the third Sunday of June. In Italy, the holiday is observed on St. Joseph's Day in March. In Germany, Father's Day is tied to the Christian holiday of Ascension Day, which is 40 days after Easter, which is when Jesus ascended into heaven. Which means, so Father's Day in Germany can take place in either May or June. And Australians don't celebrate Father's Day until the first Sunday in September, which is the first Sunday of spring in the Southern Hemisphere. And the countries that do celebrate Sunday on the third Sunday of June are India and Japan. And as would be expected, the holiday has seen great changes through the years. Although it was originally largely a religious holiday, Father's Day has been commercialized with greeting cards and the giving of gifts. And in addition, another tradition that has held fast is family meals. And some still observe the custom of wearing a red rose to indicate that one's father is living, or a white rose to indicate that the father is deceased. I will admit that I am a traditionalist. I always get my father a card and usually a box of candy. If you're listening to this, hi Dad, love ya. I love that man so much. However, one thing that I've never fully understood is why do we force our father to cook on Father's Day? I mean, why not let the actually, no, I can think of many reasons why to not let the family do the cooking. I suppose, some of the children might not be very good cooks. I mean, but still, give the man a break. Why have him stand over a charcoal grill or a propane grill although if you do use one, I probably have lots of questions. I'm very suspicious of anyone who uses a propane grill. I am of the belief that meat tastes better over charcoal than it does over propane. But anyway, yeah. But yes, why have your father stand over a charcoal or a propane grill in searing heat on a day that's meant to honor him? And well, folks, I'm afraid the clock has appeared on me again, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to sign off. And what have we learned today? Well, for one thing, I think we've learned that just look at the mining explosion that led to the creation of Father's Day. And we've learned that everything changes, as Father's Day was once largely a religious holiday, but has now transformed into more of a family holiday, and the families have their own traditions. And I also take this time to encourage all of you who are still lucky enough to have your fathers in your lives like I am, to tell your father you love him. Go ahead, give him a hug, give him a bad tie, because I assure you that although he may not act like it, he really does appreciate the gifts. And if my own father is listening, which of course I know he is, I would like to take this opportunity to say, I love you, Dad. Happy Father's Day. So, with that, I now say goodbye, and God bless, and of course, Happy Father's Day to all the great dads out there.